this will be a quick demo on how the MCP server plugin works in Joget. So if you look at this diagram over here, so essentially it works as a layer in front of the API builder, and it exposes any functionalities that you have enabled in your API as MCP endpoints, as MCP functions or tools. So it needs to work together with the API builder. Right, so let's go to my app composer. So over here I already have an API here. So if I can open it, so you can notice there are two elements here. I'm exposing some API endpoints related to users. I can get a list of users, I can get details of a particular users, etc. And I'm also exposing the information of a list that is that has a list of news entries essentially, right? So over here we can just give it a meaningful description. This will be helpful for the AI to later determine whether what is this list about, because you can have multiple list elements, you can have multiple form elements in your API. So description is quite important, right? So once you have your API published, you can then go over to manage plugins, provided you already have our MCP server plugins installed. So under this manage plugins sections, if you go to configurable plugins, right, you should be able to see MCP server here. So this is where you can start configuring your MCP server endpoints. So click on it, right? So on the bottom you can click add row. So now we are adding one endpoint. So over here we can define our endpoint ID. So this allows letters, numbers, underscores and hyphens only, because essentially this ID is going to end up in part of your URL. So it cannot contain any URL breaking characters, right? So endpoint ID, so for example, I'm going to give it MCP server 1, right? So this, and then you're going to select which API is this endpoint is pointing to, right? So this dropdown is going to list out all the APIs you have across all your apps within this Joget instance. So this will be your app name, and this will be your API name, right? So now I only have one, right? Then I can activate it, and whether or not you can enable authentication. So this is all depends on whether your MCP tool supports authentications or not. So for now we only supports header authentication, right? So if you want to enable this, you can select header and then give it some values depending on how your MCP client is supporting this. So right now, to keep it simple, we're gonna put it to none, right? Then we can submit. So that's it. We actually created one endpoint pointing to one of the API. So how are we gonna verify this? So I'm gonna use LM Studio here, right? So this is some AI desktop app that I'm running locally with a GPT OSS model loaded, right? So to start configuring this, I can click on this install button and I can edit MCP JSON, right? This is how you configure MCP servers in LM Studio. So in different tools you have different ways, so you need to refer to the documentation, right? So I'm going to give it a meaningful ID, my Joget MCP, then should be the URL. Right, so I'm just running this locally. So you can actually go back to Joget, where you configure your MCP server just now. This will be your endpoint format, right? I can just quickly copy this, then I go back to LM Studio and I can replace this, and right, that's it. I can save this and you should see it appears on the right hand side. Then I can, yeah, there you go. It's actually loading all the endpoints that I've selected in my API just now, right? You can see all 7 of them. So I can enable this, and then I can go to my chat with this LLM. I can say list all the users in Joget. Let's see whether it's able to connect to our MCP endpoint just now. Right, yep, so it's trying to access one of these tools listed in this server and it's asking for a permission. You can just click on proceed. And there you go. It's actually listing down in JSON format, right? Yep. Because without this MCP server over here, it wouldn't have any idea on all these informations. So this proves that this LM Studio now currently has access to our Joget MCP servers. Right. This is a thing. Yep. This is how you can configure your MCP client to connect to our MCP server. Thank you.